Hey guys, my name is Jake Kaufman and welcome back to Way Outside. Uh, everyone's having a great day. It's an amazing time to be a basketball fan right now as the NBA playoffs literally started today, and I think this really has the potential to be one of the best postseasons we've had in years. Today was the first day of games, or last night, depending on when you see this. And I recently decided that I'm going to be doing like daily post game recaps, analysis from every day of the playoffs because I think it's going to be really fun. I wanted to start doing stuff more consistently, but I also didn't think it would make sense for me to put daily episodes on my actual podcast because it would mess up my actual timeline of posting every 3 months. So I'm gonna be posting these here on YouTube. So without further ado, let's jump into the 4 games that we saw today on the first day of the playoffs. So obviously the first game of the day today was the fifth seed Jazz taking on the fourth seed Mavericks in Dallas. It was game one, of course. As most of you already know, Luka Doncic didn't play, and while early on it didn't necessarily seem like it was as big of a deal as you would think, as the game continued to progress, his absence and importance to the team became way more and more apparent. The Mavericks are really a team built around Luka and his terrific playmaking skills. Because of that, they really don't have any other options that are great on how to fill that role. Spencer Dinwiddie and Jalen Brunson are both very good players who have played important roles for the Mavericks this season, but they can't replicate the Luka ball style that the Mavericks normally try to play. And if they try to do the same thing until he gets back, they're probably going to lose every game until he returns. The big thing that really did them in for those two is they combined Dinwiddie and Brunson combined to shoot 15 of 39 from the field. And those two took over half of Dallas's total shots as they took only 76 shots in the game. So having two players shoot over 50% of your shots, you're going to need them to make a higher percentage of them. I mean, they still both scored. Timothy and Brunson still scored 24 and 22 respectively, but their inefficiency really hurt the team, as you could have easily imagined. I was honestly really surprised when watching how good they did of a job they did limiting the turnovers as a team. Dallas, they only had 7 for the game, despite not having Luka, which is pretty surprising. While the Jazz had 14, didn't do an amazing job of taking care of the ball. But the fact that Dallas only shot 38% from the field and 28% from three while missing 8 of their 34 free throws really did them in. It merely made it difficult. Dinwiddie specifically was 10 of 16 from the free throw line, which is a little bit surprising. Really good free throw shooter, but he's not normally taking that many in a game. So I think that could have been a key reason why. I also think a really big thing in this game was that was how the rebounding. Utah won the rebounding advantage by 19. It was 53 to 34, and they had 13 offensive rebounds to Dallas's 7, and all of that added up to them getting 7 extra shots despite all the extra turnovers they had, which they really needed because the Jazz didn't shoot well either. They only shot 43% from the field, 31% from three, but those rebounds and second chance points really gave them an edge to help them win. And so now, if I want to go to some specific contributions to the Jazz, I'll go back to some of the Mavericks. Rudy Gobert had one of the most impactful 5-point games and one-shot attempt games I've seen in a while. Yes, he did only shoot one shot in 35 minutes, but he had 17 rebounds, 3 blocks, and just altered so many other shots at the rim. I mean, as much as we do have to acknowledge that, his defensive abilities at times questionable or overrated in the playoffs, depending on the matchup. Yes, but today he showed why he's still an elite defender. He also did a pretty good job getting outside onto the perimeter on players that needed to. He was smart and he let Josh Green, when Josh Green subbed in, he didn't try to attack them. He just let him shoot, and Josh Green went 0 for 4 from 3, and they're going to continue to let him do that until he can prove himself otherwise. But Gobert just played a great game overall, even though he only had 5 points. He had so much of an impact in this game. +6. He just did so many things. 17 rebounds again. That's just a ton. He was setting great screens, especially in that third quarter, which when Mitchell got off, got hot. Sorry, which I'll get to in a second. Bojan Bogdanovic had a great impact in this game that was kind of unexpected. I mean, he's obviously a very good player and is important to Utah, but he had 26 points total and he had 20 in the first half, which was so needed for Utah because Mitchell was really struggling. He only had 2 points at halftime. Bogdanovic was just lighting it up. I can't remember exactly what he was shooting. I believe he was like 9 for 13 or something insane in the first half with those 20 points. He was just really getting to his spots. He was really doing almost all of his stuff at the rim or in the post area, which was interesting. He got a lot of drives. He did a lot of post ups and fades and dive ins against smaller guards. He really took advantage of a lot of different mismatches and really played well in that first half. And in this set, and it late down the end of the game, actually, surprisingly, he played a different role. He was the primary playmaker with how the Mavericks regarding Donovan by Conley. He was really the primary playmaker. He made a lot of great skip passes to the corner for like a Royce O'Neal three from the corner, Jordan Clarkson, Daniel House contribution like that. He just did a lot of different playmaking things at the end of the game, and really, I mean, he only finished with 4 assists, but he generated so many other open looks, and he actually had the highest plus minus total in the game. He had a plus 11 in his 40 minutes, and he just played very well overall. I wanted to shout him out. Donovan Mitchell started off very slowly. Like I said, only 2 points in the first half, but he really got going in the third quarter. He only shot 10 for 29 from the game as a whole, but he evened out with 10 for 11 from the free throw line. He had 30 points in the second half. Like I said, he had 6 rebounds, 6 assists. I think the main reason he struggled in the first half, in addition to Joe just missing shots, is that Jason Kidd had a very unique approach with how he wanted to start, who he wanted to defend the guards in the beginning for Utah. He put his 2 wings on them, actually. He put Torian Finney-Smith, who's the team's best overall defender, on Mitchell, like strictly, and put Reggie Bullock on Dinwiddie. Reggie Bullock on Mike Conley. And those actually had pretty good results in the first half, even though it was an unorthodox style. But like I said, the downside of that was Bogdanovich getting put against Dinwiddie or Brunson, which he really did a good job taking advantage of in that first half. But in terms of that, they did really slow down Mitchell and made it tough for him. But eventually, I think they really gave into, they were seeing Bogdanovich was killing those switches. So they just tried to put Mitchell back on by Dinwiddie or Brunson, or at least sometimes, and he just took advantage of it. He started carving up. He did it like he normally does when he struggles. He gets back into stride by getting to the rim first, and then his perimeter game, his mid-range and threes and stuff start going down. But normally for Mitchell, if he's slow, if you notice the way he gets back into stuff, and a lot of players that, even though they like to shoot out, they get inside, they get to the rim, because especially Mitchell, he's so athletic, and he had that one and crazy throw down over Bertans in transition where, I know he's athletic, but remember when he's 6'1", he just took off, and it was honestly an incredible finish. But yeah, that was the thing for me, is that Utah had an answer for both styles, and they have mismatches all around, because they have the differences between Utah and Dallas is that all of Utah's best scorers are also versatile playmakers and get their own shot. That's not the case for Dallas. Dallas has 2 guys that could do it, and then when he runs it, Luka, I hear Dorian Finney-Smith can't really do anything like that. Reggie Bullock can't. Dallas Bertans and Max Kleber, all those bigs obviously can't really, which they're not expected to, but they can't really generate their own shots at the same level. And the Jazz just are filled with shot creators. Obviously, you have Mitchell, Conley, Bogdanovich, Jordan Clarkson can off the bench. And while Royce O'Neal isn't like exactly like that, Royce O'Neal doesn't necessarily need to be, because they have 3 very high level shot creators in the starting lineup, another one on the bench that also, while also having Rudy Gobert as a defensive presence, that was just, amazing. Like I said before, Dwight Powell did play pretty well starting center for the Mavericks, but it just didn't feel like, obviously, as much as Luka would help this team, the rebounds is really what did them in, man. Getting rebounded 19, it's really hard to win those kinds of games. And I think that based on our reports, it sounds like Luka is going to be out for game 2. And if I have to make a prediction for assuming Luka's out, I'm probably going to take the Jazz to win again. It'll probably be a close game. Again, it wasn't like the Jazz played amazing. They haven't been an amazing road team all year, but I'm just going to base it off this. I just think that I also don't expect Mitchell to go 10 for 29 again. And the fact that they could do that and they still won, because Mitchell, as much as he's inefficient regular season, Mitchell is one of the greatest postseason scorers of all time. And that sounds like a stretch, but if you look, they showed a graphic during the game. He's actually 4th all time in postseason scoring average per game, which is incredible. He's almost at like 29. It's honestly insane. But yeah, so I think that's all I have to say about this first game. So now we're going to move on to the second game of the day, the Timberwolves and the Grizzlies. Now we're going to move on to the second game of the day, which was obviously the Timberwolves versus the Grizzlies, which was a real shocker to me. And I'm going to say, it wasn't just that the Timberwolves won game 1. I wasn't going to expect it, but it's just the way they did it. First of all, they came off Patrick Beverley's championship parade. Sorry, had to make that joke because of the Shaq and a Fool that was recently out, which was hilarious. Yeah, they came out and took on the second seeded Red Hot Memphis Grizzlies, who basically had everyone healthy. It wasn't just the way that they won, but they beat Memphis in ways that Memphis doesn't normally get beat. Memphis has 6th in defensive rating. The Timberwolves put up 130 points on them. They shot 50% from the field. They were 16 of 41 from 3, 27 24 for 27 for the free throw line. But the thing that was even most surprising to me is the Memphis Grizzlies were the number one rebounding team this season. They got out rebounded by 11 by the Timberwolves, who were an average rebounding team by stats. It's 46 to 35. And that was really surprising. Memphis leads the league offensive, defensive, and all types of rebounds. It was really surprising. And it wasn't all just because like the shooting, one team was shooting better. Like there was a lot more effort from Timberwolves on the glass. But yeah, and that was the biggest thing to me. But another reason, like in the Jazz game, the Jazz side, they had a lot of the Timberwolves had a lot of turnovers. It's really limited how many extra shots. They only got up 4 more shots. So those things kind of evened each other out, but like they didn't feel like it in the sense of the game. And even though the turnovers were there, I think that those rebounds really carried extra weight. I don't know the exact second chance points off the top of my head or up here, but it feels like it was pretty high. Honestly, if I'm really fair, one of the only things that really kept the Grizzlies in the game for so long as it did was the free throws. I mean, they had an abundance of free throws. And I'm not saying most of them weren't deserved. I mean, there was a few, obviously, like in every game where they didn't call, but they got to the line 43 times. They were 32 for 43, which isn't great, but Ja himself went 16 to 20. That's considering the T-Wolves only shot 27. That's pretty crazy, just the amount of free throws they got. I mean, in so many ways, Minnesota outplayed them throughout the game. Like there was a bunch of mini runs that Memphis would make, but none of them really felt like, they were going to really come back into it, even though it was like a tight finish kind of. Yeah, but I found now we get some individual performances. John Morant finished with 32 points, but as I said, he was 16 to 20 for the free throw line, so he got half his points there. Only 8 of 18 from the field and over 2 from 3. So he had 8 assists, 3 turnovers. He was like good, but I wouldn't say he had a great game. Like he wasn't as impactful as he normally is. Had a couple jaw dropping dunks, but in terms of like his actual impact, it wasn't crazy. Jaren Jackson Jr. had a really weird game. He really didn't shoot well from the field at all. He was only 4 for 13. He was 0 for 5 from 3, but he had 7 blocks in only 24 minutes. And that part on the defensive end, he was really impactful, but he really struggled offensively. And I said only 24 minutes because he struggled with foul trouble, like he often does. He had 5 fouls total. I think he had 4 early on in first half, I believe. I might be wrong on that, but that really kept him off the floor, and I think it really hurt because even those plus minuses, though, his defense was important at times, especially against Edwards and I was trying to think who else was he guarding that? Oh, he was also impacting D'Angelo Russell's drives to the rim a little bit, but yeah. Dylan Brooks played very well though. Obviously he's only been back for a little bit, but he had 24 points, 7 to 14 from the field, 3 for 4 from 3. He played very well. He tried his best defensively. I mean, obviously they didn't play well defensively, but he pretty well. The biggest contribution for them that was like surprising off the bench was Brandon Clark. He had a double-double, 27 minutes. He had 13 points and 12 rebounds in only 27 minutes, and he was 6 for 7 from the field. He just played a very good game off the bench. Part of his time as 10 minutes was because at times they were being blown out, but he played very well, and I think, he warranted potentially, even if Jackson plays, getting some more minutes. And I think he could be a key potentially to try to help him out. Going to the Timberwolves side, they just had so many. I mean, if you put up 130 points, you need a lot of contributions. Anthony Edwards in his first playoff game was terrific. He had 36 points, 12 23 from the field, 4 of 11 from 3, made all 8 of his free throws, 6 assists as well. He was making so many tough shots, whether it was driving into the lane, finishing left hand, right hand over people under. He had a few step back mid ranges. He obviously hit some threes. His confidence right now is just on another level. He is just so locked in and so confident in everything that he's doing. And it's honestly really fun to watch. I'm really a big fan of him. I think that, he's really going to be a multi-time all-star, and he's been playing very well recently, especially in this. Karl-Anthony Towns had a bounce back game after, really struggling in the play-in. Don't remember his exact totals, but he played really bad the play-in. He was in really bad foul trouble. He fouled out. He just overall wasn't playing good. Today he had 29 and 13 in 43 minutes. He was 11 of 18 for the field, 2 5 of 3. He also had a massive dunk over Jaren Jackson Jr. and just the replay of it, the sound, and just how crazy. It was an incredible dunk. And Cat just played aggressive, all thing. I like how he only took 5 threes. He did really make an attempt to get in the paint. He was really the main reason that got Jaren Jackson in foul trouble, even though he only took 5 free throws. There's a lot of, I believe 3 of his fouls weren't from that, but he played incredibly well. Both of them were They were Towns plus 16. Edwards was plus 12. Pat Beverly did his thing. He had 10 points, 6 assists, 6 rebounds all row game. D'Angelo Russell didn't play well. He only had 10 points and well, he did have 9 assists, but he shot 2 of 11 from the field. But overall, their Timberwolves bench was so important. Torian Prince was just a little bit, but Jaden McDaniels was so clutch down the stretch. He played closing minutes and he finished with 15 points, 5 of 6 from three, 5 of 6 in the field. Excuse me, 2 of 6 from three, 7 rebounds as well, a steal and 3 blocks in only 25 minutes. He had the highest plus minus in the game of plus 19. He was incredible. And again, the playoffs, at times you're going to have to rely on people to think. Jared Vanderbilt really didn't play well in this game because his struggles offensively. He was only playing 19 minutes, 1 of 3 from the field, only 6 rebounds. He was a minus 11. Everyone else was positive besides him and Naz Reid. So maybe there's a chance that they're going to go to McDaniels more. But also Malik Beasley, he was a spark plug offensively. He's always been. He's 8 for 14 from the field, 4 of 10 from three, finished with 23 points, 5 rebounds as well. Just made a bunch of big shots like he always does. He comes off the bench. But yeah, I mean, I honestly don't know what to think of this. Like, I do want to think that Memphis is a good enough team, that they're going to come back and regroup, and especially for game 2, I'm pretty sure they're going to win that. But like going back, Memphis is a very good team, but like, it's not just like I said before. It's not just that the Timberwolves won. It's the way that they won. They beat Memphis at, in theory, their own game, and that's confusing to me. I do think Memphis, behind a great coach and Taylor Jenkins, will get it addressed, but it was just surprising to see the way that it went down. It was a very fun game. Like I said, that the Timberwolves are fun to watch right now. They play hard. They got some very dynamic offensive players. They got Patrick Beverly losing his mind. It's been fun. Yes, I think we're going to move on to the third and fourth games, which might not take as much analysis insight just because they weren't as close, but yeah. Now we're going to move on to the Sixers Raptors game. Like I said before, I don't think I'm going to go in depth as these, just because like it's pretty obvious. You look at the box score; these were 2 blowouts, especially in the case of the thing. But I'm going to take a little bit of time with these. So obviously, Raptors 5 seed in the East, Sixers 4 seed in the East. A lot of people, including me, but looked at this as a potential upset. And if Scotty Barnes doesn't get injured, which I'll talk about in a second, we don't know if we'll extend that. I would still say it's a potential upset chance, but based on the way things unfolded, it looks like Philadelphia is going to relatively easy time in this, at least at home. I mean, on the road without Thibault, maybe that'll make a difference, but I don't know. The Sixers won by 20. It was 131 to 111. And as good as I'm going to say, and Embiid played okay. Neither Embiid or James Harden played that well, and they won by 20. I think that's just crazy. Tyrese Maxey, man, he's such an underrated player, and I mean, he could be a star on many other teams in this league. He had 38 points, which is an all-time, which is so first. Excuse me, I apologize for that. ESPN coming up, but yeah, so Maxey was 14 for 21 from the field. He was 5 of 8 from three. He was a plus 20. I mean, he only had 4 rebounds to other stuff, but he just played amazing. I am so sorry that keeps happening. But yeah, he is able to take advantage of everything. And okay, I'm gonna edit this out. Excuse me, but okay. So he really did play a great role and did a very good job with just taking what the game gave him. He was aggressive. I mean, 14 for 21. He was just so efficient and amazing. He was hitting a lot of tough shots. He's so quick, man. His speed is, I think he's underrated speed. He's one of the quickest guards in the league. Joel Embiid was 5 for 15 from the field, 9 of them for the free throw line helped. He only had 19 points. He had 15 rebounds, and he did have a block. And he did play very good defense overall. Harden was only 6 of 17, which is typical for him, but he did have 14 assists to 1 turnover. I mean, that was also the big thing. Philadelphia had 3 turnovers this entire game, which I believe ties the all-time playoff record for the lowest amount in a full game. It's very impressive. Again, Tobias Harris also. It's really weird that Tobias Harris and actually were the 2 leading scorers. And if they can play this well, they're going to win the title. The reason I don't think they're going to do that is because I don't think the one win title is because I don't think this is going to happen. I mean, I think they're both very good players, but Tobias Harris 9 for 14 from the field with 26 points. I don't see that happening again. They really didn't need any big bench contributions, so they didn't get any. But yeah, they shot 51% from the field. They shot 16 of 32 from 3, 85% from the free throw line. It was an offensive juggernaut and masterpiece. For the Raptors side, it was rough. they were really trailing throughout. Like there were times where they were hanging in and stopping it from being a full blowout, but it was never really close early on. They were just outmatched. Uh, OG Anunoby and Siakam, and, like in terms of like their overall box score numbers, played fine. Siakam had 24 points, 9 rebounds, or excuse me, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 blocks, 3 rebounds out of your center. Wasn't great, but yeah, OG Anunoby had 20 points, 9 for 15 shooting. He also had seven rebounds. Says he was okay. Scotty Barnes, obviously, if I think you probably heard about that. He almost actually had a triple double before he got hurt, but Embiid smashed into his foot and he couldn't walk up on his own power. They said his MRI sprain real is negative, but I mean, for sure, we're gonna have to assume he's out game 2. I think the best case scenario, maybe game 4, game 5. He comes back, and that's just a big loss. He's obviously a real candidate for rookie of the year. He's been playing so well. He's one of the best playmakers on that team, which is really saying something. And yeah, it was difficult, really difficult to see him go down. And yeah, I mean, it was really difficult. I mean, if he's not healthy, they're going to really struggle. Just because this team doesn't have as much of a bench. Like Precious Achiuwa is okay, but only had 9 points, 4 rebounds. He's just such a still raw prospect. Unlike Scotty Barnes, he's just such a raw prospect. Chris Boucher played okay. He fouled out. Fred VanVleet fouled out too. I mean, it's just like they need to play better defense, or they're going to need something to change because they didn't shoot that badly. They shot 48% from the field, 40% from three. It's just that defensively, they didn't they forced 3 turnovers only. They didn't even have it made themselves. 8 is not even many. They just obviously couldn't stop anyone from scoring, let alone Maxey thing. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know. At first, I did really think this could be a close series that the Raptors might win, especially with Thibault not being able to play in Philly. I mean, Thibault not being able to play in Toronto, excuse me. But with this down, I'm just gonna have to say I'm pretty sure the Sixers are going to game 2, assuming that Scotty Barnes doesn't play, just because of how few little depth this team has. Like their top 7 players are very good. Also, I have to point out Thaddeus Young got injured after 6 minutes, although I don't think he was going to play that much, but still big thing. But yeah, man, I don't like James Harden. I think anyone that knows me closely doesn't know that or knows that, and looks like he's going to be pretty likely going on the second round. But it is what it is. So now we're going to talk about the last game of the day: the Warriors and the Nuggets. And now we go to the last game of the night: the Warriors and the Nuggets. Nuggets were the 6th seed in the West, Warriors 3rd seed, and I mean, I think this what happened is what a lot of people believe it happened. As good as Denver was in the regular season, as good as Jokic is, they just don't have the firepower to play against a Warriors team, especially one that now got back Steph Curry. Although he did come off the bench, and I'll get into that in a little bit. But I mean, Jokic played pretty well. He had 25 points, 10 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, a block. Was a minus 19. He was 12 for 25, 0 for 3. There was a little bit thing, but obviously he has so much attention on him right now. Will Barton played pretty well. He had 24 points, had 10 of 18 shooting, 2 of 6 from 3, rounds 5 assists. Aaron Gordon really struggled. He was only 3 for 10, only had 8 points. Jeff Green didn't play well, and their bench didn't really play well. Bones Highland was only 4 for 10. They just didn't get a lot of. I mean, 1 of 7s normally is a decent amount of points, but when you're giving up to as good shooting as they did, it's not enough. Only because Morris did score in double figures. And had 6 assists on 1 turnover, 4 steals. But again, like the Warriors' firepower was just too much. I'll get to a second. Man, to continue the thing of young stars that are not the best player on their team having incredible games, let me give you Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole had 30 points, 9 of 13 from the field, 5 of 7 from 3, 7 of 8 from the field. He had a Steph Curry-like impression. I'm not going to say he's better because obviously he's not, but like the way some of his shots were literally from Steph Curry range, and even some of his finishes, he had this crazy and one finish where he basically did looks like flipped it up like this guy while getting hit in the head, and he ended up with 30, like I said, +7 only for the game, but I mean, he only had 1 rebound, 3 assists, but he was doing so much out with the scoring that didn't matter. Klay Thompson had a pretty good game. He had 19 points, 7 of 15 from the field, 5-10 from 3. Overall, like early on, he was playing pretty well. Andrew Wiggins was okay, 16 points, 6 of 11, 1 of 2 from 3. Draymond had his normal impactful game. Actually, he was the +21, but Tony is. So sorry that keeps happening. I'm gonna have to edit this shit out. But yeah, Draymond Green had 12 points, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 3 blocks, no turnovers, plus 21. Like I said, he was just doing his normal thing. He really helped get Jordan Poole, Curry, and all those guys open looks. Yeah, they really didn't play. They really didn't play Kevon Looney much at all. 13. So, which was interesting because I was the thing wondering because they don't Warriors don't like to play big that much, especially because they don't have one. But Jokic's thing, but they went around it. They instead played Bielitsa a little bit. They played Otto Porter a lot. They played Draymond at the 5 a lot. Otto Porter his numbers like didn't show it. Like himself, he only had 4 points and 4 assists, but he had a plus 21 as well in his 25 minutes. He played pretty good defense. I mean, they didn't get a ton of like points contributions besides Steph, who was 5-13 but had 16 points. He was a plus 17 despite his struggling to shoot. It's just good to see him back, and he made some plays where he looked like Steph again. Yeah, I mean, I just don't. I think I'm not gonna say this is a sweep, but I think the Warriors have a really good chance of just winning this at 5 or 6 because Denver just doesn't have the pieces. Besides that, because unless Jokic is going to drop 35, 16, and 12 a night, which maybe he can, I don't know. It's just hard because the Warriors have so much shooting. They were 52% from the field. They were 16 of 35 from three. No one actually shot 21 of 29 from the free throw line, which is surprising, but they just have so much firepower. And I mean, obviously some of these players don't, but their core has still there in terms of knowing what it's being to win a championship. And it's been instilled. They just have so much confidence right now. It's surprising because obviously they really did struggle at the end of the year. But I think with Steph back, Steph is just no funny business. He wasn't really doing any crazy celebrating. He looked really locked in, and this team wants to try to make another, long, deep postseason run. And I think if they play at their best and they do the things that they did tonight, they can. I mean, 33 assists, only 12 turnovers. They had 8 blocks as a team. That was surprising. But yeah, I mean, they just played very well overall. Offensively, it was Warriors basketball again, which we haven't seen for a while. They defensively, they really did a good job. Draymond was the head of it. Offensively, they made threes. They did what the Splash Bros did, even though the main splash throw tonight was the main 2 splash throws were Jordan Poole and Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. So it was the splash trio. But yeah, man, I think the Warriors are going to win the series pretty easily, but I'm obviously going to see. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap it up for our pregame postcap today. I'm really looking forward to doing these every day. I hope you guys enjoy. Comments if you have anything you want to disagree or agree with me about, or any other points you want to make. Yeah. This has been Jake Kaufman. You're on the Way Outside YouTube channel. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for listening.